Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little black subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that black subscribe button. Really does help our audience grow, really does help our channel grow, really does help and mean more than you could possibly know. So go ahead, hit that little black subscribe button. Also, thank you to our presenting sponsor, Betfred Sportsbook and the Betfred Sportsbook app. Bet 50 on any game, get $250 in free bets. Thank you again to Betfred. Thank you again to you. Now, here is the video that you came here for. All right. With that said, though, let's get to the topic of the day. And the topic of the day, I just told you. Friday show was done. I was chilling, may have poured myself a drink. I was having a good time, ready to relax, watch some Thursday night college hoops, when news that we were sort of expecting maybe a few days ago, whatever, becomes official. Cormani McClain, the top cornerback in high school football, according to 24/7 Sports, had been committed to Miami. He officially announces that he has decommitted from the Hurricanes, and he is headed to Colorado to play for Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, and I don't know what else to say. I told you Coach Prime was going to be a hit at the highest levels of college football. He does it again as he gets another elite five-star player to come play for him. Last year, it was Travis Hunter flipping from Florida State. This year, it is Cormani McClain. So let's break it all down and let's discuss it. And here's the bottom line. Listen, if you follow college football recruiting, or if you frankly follow the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube channel, this is a topic we've actually talked about a lot really over the last 2-3 weeks. Cormani McClain, if you remember, weird commitment. It seemed like it was a battle between Alabama and Florida, kind of calls a press conference and he announces that he is going to Miami. So right away, people are kind of wondering what's going on, what's the deal, blah, 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 blah. But we go into signing day right before Christmas and we find out just shortly after the fact that Cormani McClain is not signing with Miami. And so at that point, it immediately becomes a story of where is he going to go? What is he going to do? And immediately all of the people who cover recruiting 24/7, 365, respect the heck out of those guys and girls. It is not an easy job. Immediately you start getting intel that they at least want to hear what Coach Prime has to say about the situation at Colorado. So from there, we have a very interesting situation over the last 4 or 5 days. We have reports that Cormani McClain is going to recommit this past Sunday. I think it was the 15th. But what was interesting was last Friday, we started to get some reports that Cormani McClain was actually on Colorado's campus visiting Coach Prime. Then he goes on social media, says that he's still in Florida, tags himself in Tampa. Nobody really knows quite what is going on exactly. And then finally, after some more social media, I don't know what the right word is, but misdirection, the Colorado social media accounts run by Deion Sanders' son, Deion Sanders Jr. He runs Well Off Media, which isn't technically affiliated with Colorado, but they basically do everything Colorado football related. They had a few hints that Cormani McClain was on campus on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Finally, on Sunday, Cormani McClain posts his own pictures of being on campus with Coach Prime. Fast forward, nothing happens Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, but you start to hear continued buzz. Even Miami's own commits and signees are saying, I haven't been able to get in touch with Cormani. He's doing his own thing. We don't know if he's coming with us. And then on Thursday night, it becomes official as Cormani McClain is officially a Colorado Buffalo. Again, I guess it's not technically official. He can't sign a letter of intent here until February. I don't see him flipping again. I think he is officially a Colorado Buffalo. So let's get into it. And first of all, listen, I'm far from a recruiting evaluator or expert, but this kid's upside is through the roof. Okay. He's about 6'2", 6'3", super athletic, super long. I think the cool thing is he is going to go into a program. Now, listen, I don't think he's a finished product. I don't think he's day one, complete game changer. And I think he's got some work to do, but he's a really talented prospect, an insane corner prospect. And so from his perspective, listen, it would have been cool to see him at Miami playing for the GOAT, or playing at Alabama playing for the GOAT, Nick Saban. It would have been cool to see him at Miami playing for a school not far from where he grew up, even though he technically grew up more in Central Florida, Gator country. I believe he went to the same high school as the Pouncey Twins. But at the same time, I think for the player's perspective, as talented as he is, I just can't think of a better scenario than going to play for the GOAT at your position. Now, Nick Saban's the GOAT coach, but Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, is the GOAT quarterback. And so for a young player, a talented player who still has a lot to learn at the position, I can't think of a better scenario than going to play for the greatest to ever do it at your position. I would add on top of that, I think it'll be good for him to get around that Colorado culture with some of the players that Coach Prime is bringing with him from Jackson State. Shedeur Sanders, Shiloh Sanders, Coach Prime's two sons, Travis Hunter, who seems mature beyond his years. Listen, again, not a recruiting expert, but if you follow this stuff, my understanding, not criticizing, just a reality. Cormani's mom may be a little bit to deal with. My understanding is that, she didn't really let him do interviews during his high school career. She was doing kind of a documentary on him and his recruitment. And so I bring it up because it's kind of that middle ground of having Coach Prime to kind of, one, coach him, two, kind of be the disciplinarian where need be, but three, if you do care about your brand, if you do care about your whatever, I can't think of a better coach that you want to play for, right? Because think about it. The one thing you can't deny about Coach Prime, and I love this about him, is that he has found the balance between letting his players be themselves, but also implementing discipline within the program. And so what do I mean by that? Remember when Travis Hunter committed to Colorado, the former 5-star who had been committed to Florida State, goes with Coach Prime to Jackson State. If you remember, Travis Hunter entered the transfer portal and he said, here's the deal. When my YouTube channel gets to 100K, I will announce my decision on the YouTube channel. And so even in announcing that he is just following Coach Prime to Colorado, Coach Prime gave him the leeway to do it his way, build his brand, make a little bit of money on a legitimate level with NIL. And so Cormani McClain, if he is trying to, create a brand for himself, I can't think of a better coach to do it for, all while getting developed, getting coached at the highest level by Coach Prime. Now, in terms of Colorado, what I would say is this. Let's move off of Cormani McClain, because to me, this continues the incredible rebuild of Colorado under Coach Prime. And we all remember that opening day press conference, that opening day meeting with the team where he says, yeah, I got luggage. I'm bringing my own luggage, and it's Louis. Well, for those of you who haven't been paying attention, and if you haven't, I get it. It's a busy time of year. Coach Prime is backing it up. So far, he's taken about 22, 23 transfers to Colorado, and these are high level kids. Obviously, Travis Hunter, former number 1 ranked player, 5-star, played corner and wide receiver at Jackson State. He is going to be a difference maker, X factor from day one. Shedeur Sanders, 40 touchdown passes at Jackson State. I know it's a step up, but this was a guy that was recruited by Power Fives, was recruited by FBS schools. I believe he's going to have a ton of success at Colorado. By the way, I've had a few people mention this to me. Torres, why don't you talk about Shiloh Sanders, Coach Prime's oldest son, who plays safety for him at Jackson State? Started his career at South Carolina, So he is an FBS Power 5 SEC caliber player who's now going to be starting at safety. And for people who again, haven't followed the day-to-day, they have really cleaned up in the portal. Cavassier Smoke, many of you Kentucky fans know him. Running back, had a couple really solid years for Kentucky, 6, 7, 800-yard seasons at Kentucky. Miles Slusher, a safety who started at Arkansas. Jordan Dominic, a defensive end who started at Arkansas. Savion Washington, an offensive tackle from Kent State who was really good. And those are only the transfer players that are coming into the program. Should mention, by the way, a couple other difference makers from Jackson State, a couple McDonald's, I almost said McDonald's All-Americans, a couple FCS All-Americans from Jackson State. And Coach Prime in a short time has kind of cleaned it up in high school as well. Cormani McClain's obviously the highest profile guy, but at the same time, they also added high 4-star Dylan Edwards, who had been committed to Notre Dame. They added Amarion Miller, 4-star wide receiver, who had been committed to Nebraska. So just think about the names I'm telling you. Travis Hunter, former 5-star. Shedeur Sanders, Power 5 offers. Shiloh Sanders played at the Power 5 level. Jordan Dominic, what did he have? 9.5 tackles for loss this year. I could go on and on. Now you're adding difference makers in the freshman class. I'm just telling you, this thing's going to be really interesting really soon, which brings me to two final thoughts. One, this kind of Colorado's going to be good next year. Like they're not going to be 11-1 national championship, make the 4-team college football playoff good. But I'll tell you this, for all these people, and I see some that are like, oh, they're a 4-8 team. Well, I'll take the over on 4-8. If you gave me 8-4, I don't know that I'd take the over. But the bottom line is, this is a really talented team, and I don't think people fully appreciate the level of talent that Coach Prime has brought into the program. Now, again, to win at the highest level, I'm not saying they're beating USC and Oregon next year, let alone Alabama and Georgia to compete for a national championship. But when you talk about a team that was 1-11, maybe the least talented roster in college football, Power 5 level anyway, and now you're bringing in all this talent, this to me feels like a team that's going to be pretty good. And I believe in Coach Prime and his ability to build and mold young men. Watch the show on Amazon Prime. Watch the show that Barstool did 2 years ago on Jackson State football. I'm just here to tell you, this isn't a gimmick. This isn't a joke. This guy coached at the high school level. He obviously played at the NFL level. He had 2 sons that were recruited at the highest level. This isn't some guy that just played in the NFL. This is a guy who's done it at every level. In many ways, it reminds me of Penny Hardaway in college basketball. Penny coached at the middle school level, the high school level, the AAU level. He knew how the system was before he got to Memphis. And you can criticize Penny Hardaway, but they're probably going to make their second straight NCAA tournament. Juwan Howard's another one. Had sons that were recruited at the highest level. Learned the recruiting game. Learned the high school game. Learned the AAU game. Now he's coming off back-to-back Sweet 16s in his first 2 years that he is tournament eligible as a head coach. The first year, of course, there was no tournament because of COVID. So I could go on and on. Coach Prime is going to have success at this school. And I'll just wrap by saying, this is why I have been on this show since September saying any school that passes on Coach Prime is going to regret it. The first segment that I did this year, I vividly remember, it was after Auburn lost to Penn State. In week 3 of the college football season, I said, look, Auburn, it's clear Brian Harsin isn't the guy. You aren't getting any better. Sorry, these are the facts. This is reality. Go get Coach Prime. Now, listen, I think Hugh Freeze is going to be really good at Colorado. So that's not at Auburn. I'm all over the place right now. Forgive me. I think Hugh Freeze is going to be really good at Auburn. He has already been really good at Auburn. So it's not a criticism of Hugh Freeze. It's just the fact that it was only going to take one school to take a chance on Coach Prime, and it was Colorado. Some schools, maybe he wasn't the right fit. Maybe he wasn't the perfect fit here. Maybe Hugh Freeze made more sense for Auburn. But I'm just telling you, this guy is going to win and win big at Colorado. And oh, by the way, remember a couple things. 2 years from now, in his second year at Colorado, remember a couple things. USC and UCLA are going to be gone from that conference. There's going to be a 12-team playoff. I'm not saying in year 2 they make that 12-team playoff, but this guy is coming to Colorado to win, and he is going to have success. As Coach Prime says, as Deion Sanders says, we coming. Colorado arrives with Cormani McClain, the 5-star recruit.